So here's a movie I didn't think we'd be talking about so soon on this channel because I had no desire to talk about it or watch it. But it's one of those nights nothing else on television comes on. Here we go. The Three Musketeers, our first Three Musketeers movie, and it is the Richard Lester version. Now, I don't really think have I talked about Lester? I don't think I have talked about any of his films. He is a filmmaker I am fascinated by because I think he's really weird. He just makes whatever he wants and it's just strange whatever stuff. And I think that's kind of cool. They're always silly. And look, before we even get into this film, I should specify this is a comedy movie. You know, I'm putting it under the Dynamic Tales demographic because, yes, it's a swashbuckling adventure, but it's a comedy. First and foremost, it's a comedy. That's the kind of films this guy makes. Have you seen his Superman movies? The dude makes comedies. It's weird and it's strange. So that is the first Musketeer movie we're going to be talking about. I guess we could talk a little bit about like the Three Musketeers in that world. One of the oldest tales is it's one of Hollywood's favorite things to do. You know, when we're done Robin Hood, it's like, what's the next thing we can play with? Oh, the Musketeers, cool, that's fun. Get some nice European actors to come over, make an American movie. Makes sense. I love it. Not even Hollywood, but just like telling stories throughout time. It always comes back to the Musketeers because it's like if you have a quartet or a trio, they're always being based off of these guys. You know, brash, bold, sexy, fun, that kind of thing. That's what we're doing here. That is what the Musketeers represent. And that's fun. That's cool. It makes for great stories. And with that, you can throw that into any genre you want, including comedy, because that's what we're doing here. We're making a silly Musketeer movie. So I went into this not knowing anything. It's one of the few Musketeer films where I'm like, I don't really care to watch this one. I don't know if it's like the one people talk about the most. I just remember like, okay, it's one I haven't seen before. And then I'm like, okay, let's see who's in this thing. Michael York, one of my favorites. I love Michael York. Anything York is in, I'm 100% on board for. And I just want to, like, even before we get into this, I just gotta say, I've never seen a man have so much fun just flopping about in a movie. That's what I love about this. When I look back at, like, what would I want to do in, like, the history of cinema, I look at stuff like this and I'm like, I could just be me in the shape I'm in now, wearing a big puffy hat, running about with a fake sword, climbing stuff and jumping on guys. That's this movie, and everyone's having a ball doing it. So I love that. That's what I'd love to see. And then Raquel Welch is in this movie, and I'm like, okay. Faye Dunaway's in this movie. I'm like, okay. And then Christopher Lee's in this movie. I'm like, okay. Who are the Musketeers then? You're like, oh, Oliver Reed. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. As Athos, I like that. Richard Chamberlain as Aramis. I'm like, I can get on board with that. And Frank Finley as Porthos. I'm like, I like all of those. Those are all really good choices for this world. So maybe this is the definitive version. It's also like, you got these guys in here. Let's not take this a little too seriously. It's great actors from the British world. Let's see what they can do. And they do something fun. This movie is insane. Like, I haven't had so much fun watching a movie in a long time. I've had great experiences in the theater, but just at home, just like having no idea what I'm getting in store for, this changed my life. It is so fun, so bizarre, and insane. Like the plot of this movie is very specific to the original Dumas novel, which is kind of creative to see. I mean, the fact that we're doing that and making it this kind of stupid comedy is awesome. It's just a bunch of dumb luck. I cannot get over how specifically stupid this movie is, but how much I enjoy it. Like, it's the kind of thing. It's like, yeah, this is what we've been aping off of for generations in film. The just type of humor in this type of world. It definitely feels like Lester had some pinpoint on what blockbusters were going to be when he made this. I'm not even saying it's like his first blockbuster that like felt this way, but it's like, oh yeah, this is what we're going to do. Weird, subtle romance that turns into like big, boisterous stuff. Characters not taking anything seriously. It is very slapstick, which maybe it might be why I like it so much because I guess, you know, the Musketeers, the Stooges, it all comes back to trios. So specific and weird. I don't know how plot heavy we're going to get into this. The movie kind of opens up, and D'Artagnan, played by Michael York, is just like, okay, I want to be a musketeer. I'm going to go down there. You need experience to be a musketeer. Treville tells him, he's like, okay, I'll find experience. As that's happening, the guy Christopher Lee is playing is like this evil dude, and he's doing some machinations to kind of like, just keep the king in place, and it's all weird shit. Like the cardinals obviously move in place against the king. The queen is in like this weird relationship with, it's the Duke of, well, what is he the Duke of? I can't remember, with the Duke of Birmingham. I think that's what he's the Duke of. And it's just like this weird relationship where it's okay. The queen doesn't love her husband. The king is oblivious to everything going on. He's played like a dumbass. The cardinal's got his own like weird militia trying to take over stuff. The Musketeers are going against the cardinal's militia. The Duke of Birmingham is off doing his own thing and trying to court the queen. And all the while, that's what's insane about this movie. All the while, D'Artagnan meets the Musketeers. He finds this nice lady named Constance, played by Raquel Welch, who is so on tone with Michael York. I don't know if it's like my favorite on-screen chemistry with York, but the two of them are just batting at 100 when it comes to this thing. They are so in sync with each other's performances. These two people that instantly look at each other are turned on. One of them's married, the other one's a dumbass, and they just can't connect in that way. It leads to some hilarious hijinks that ensue when maybe they're going to kiss, maybe they're not. I love when they like meet up again because she secretly works for like the queen, and they're like hiding from the cardinal's men and her husband. They hide in a cabinet. The cabinet falls over, and then D'Artagnan bursts from the cabinet, meets the husband, says, "The love of my life," goes back down into the cabinet to kiss her, bursts up through a new hole in the cabinet, and is just ready to talk again. It is hilarious. Their chemistry is so perfect, and even just the subtle like jokes they make, everyone's so in tune for this thing. It is so funny. So D'Artagnan is now wanting to court this woman Constance who works for the queen, and so she sets up a secret meeting for the queen to meet the Duke of Birmingham, and she gives him a necklace with like these diamonds on it. He takes it back, but he's going to return it to her later. As that's going on, the cardinal's like, I can't let that happen because then that's going to interfere with my plans. So he tries to take some of the diamonds off the necklace, and then the idea the idea just comes so specific that D'Artagnan is going to help the Duke court the queen by doing this really stupid thing of just being a messenger boy. So, okay, we have a big fight in some weird place where they make like shirts and stuff, the clothing facility. Our musketeers just show up to fight. Everything's fun. And then D'Artagnan becomes the messenger boy, where he's going to go travel to London. He's going to give a letter to the Duke. He's going to take the jewels back to the Queen because they love each other. And he's trying to court Constance, who's only trying to get that to help the Queen. I'm like, what are we doing? Why is this the plot? Even if you were writing this book, I'm like, why would you do that? We're here for the weird hijinks adventure stuff. And that's the other thing I love about this. It's just, it's so stupid, the slapstick and everything. The characters are so dumb. When we meet Athos, I love it. His one arm is hurting. And then as the story progresses, he hurts his other arm. So he starts off in the one cast on the one side, goes to the sleeve on the other side. So funny and stupid. They play tennis for some reason. I don't understand that. It's so stupid. But then every time there's a huge fight scene, I'm just reminded, like, yeah, we used to just not give a shit. It's just like put a bunch of shit in a room, and then the actors are either going to pull out their sword, the sword might break, and then they're just going to beat each other with whatever's nearby. There are very specific scenes in this movie where we use plants, some guy pulls out a tree, we use our hats as a weapon, we use clothing lines as a weapon. We pull sticks out of the ground. Everything nearby just becomes a weapon to attack everybody. It is so dumb. And it's just the Musketeers just like, hey, our swords aren't working. What if we just grabbed like the nearest like piece of food and threw it at a guy? Or we just picked up a rock and started beating people with it? What are we doing? Like, it's so stupid and fun. And it leads to just some insane comedy and some insane jokes and so many great moments. So it starts with like, they first meet D'Artagnan, and they're fighting in like a courtyard somewhere. Then they do like another fight, and they're like, we're hungry. We don't have any money because we're betting on guys staying on top of a pole. So they have like a fake fight scene where they're actually stealing food from this guy. And that is creative genius. It is actually a very smart scene that works really well. And then they accompany D'Artagnan on his mission to deliver a letter to London. They all presumably die in like different fights. And then They have really one of the most slapsticky moments that is just straight up a scene from a Stooges cartoon where Athos falls in a well. Porthos and Aramis have to pull him out with a rope. They attach the rope to a horse. D'Artagnan comes back from his mission to go to London, cuts the rope off the horse. Athos falls back into the well, and everyone's like, looks like D'Artagnan survived and made his mission. What are we doing? What a really dumb, specific joke we just made that is so stupid. But I love it. I'm like, what is this randomness? And they do it. You know, they get the jewels back to the queen just in time to foil the cardinal's plan of like presenting her with fake jewels. The king's an oblivious idiot who doesn't know anything going on. Everything is fine, and that is how this Musketeers movie goes. And you're like, what are we doing? It doesn't focus a lot on the Musketeers, but that's okay, because this entire crew did 2 more of these. They filmed one right after this, the 4 Musketeers, and then they come back years later to do the Return of the Musketeers. I'm like, what are we doing? It is so cool, and I had such a blast. Every actor is having a ball, especially the Musketeer guys. Of course, Chamberlain and Finley, just the perfect comedic foil, being like these weird guys. Just everything we're doing. Hey, at least if we die here, we're getting good pay for it, you know? I love that. Athos given so much to do. Oliver Reed, a great choice for that. But again, Michael York's on a whole other level. Like, this guy is just a young kid, buck wild, running around shirtless half the time, just screaming about whatever's going on, and he's so horned up for this one girl. It's insane. It's just like watching a bunch of really talented actors have fun in a field and a fake castle, and there's nothing more I want from my movies except that feeling. That specific feeling we are getting from the Musketeers is awesome. This movie's insane, and we'll definitely be coming back eventually to talk about the 4 Musketeers, because hell, this is awesome. Just a bunch of goofs who win the day by literally traveling across the world to deliver a letter and bring a necklace back. What's not to love? What is not to love? It's awesome. So freaking dumb. I love this movie. So that's going to do it for the Dynamic Tales talk of the 3 Musketeers. Now, thank you guys for watching this video. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. As always, you can check me out on Instagram, TikTok, and Hive. And I will catch you in the next one. Remember, folks, it's all for one and one for all.